The ass whooping everyone is about to receive from South Korea.
You know, maybe this just wasn't their lucky draw, right?
The breakdown seems to be like there's going to be organizational reward. It's an organizational tournament.
No one's ever done something like this before.
Like T1 is a cut above the rest.
He knew he could do it, and like he just bombed them basically, and the other team had no idea what happened. That's pretty much it. It's gonna be a quick monologue. It's a quick topic.
I disagree,
because we're gonna pull all of the esport gamer nerds together into one infinity gauntlet of games. Hello and welcome to the Esports Meta. I'm Billy Sims, here to bring you through all the topics happening this week in competitive esports. First off, we're talking about Overwatch World Cup main stage 2 set bracket, all good already. We also got MSI, the battle lines have been drawn, the games are set May 1st. We'll be going over all those details about what's going on. And of course, there's exciting news. All these console players have been suffering from Ximming and players Ximming against them. There's been a dramatic update for that, and let's get to it. But I'm going to need some help to do that, and of course, I need the best to help me. So I brought along Nick Layton. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Feeling good. Weather's great. You know, games are good. Looking all green, no red. Right? It's not Christmas yet, but you know, still getting presents. It's okay.
Yeah, every day's Christmas. Every day's Christmas if you're winning, right?
Well, if you're winning and losing, if you got your 50% average, you got Christmas every day. But here's hoping that you don't. Here's hoping you're sitting a little higher on that, a little bit more green than red.
Yeah, more in the black. We love to see that. Well, we have a couple big stories to get through and some topics we're gonna run through today. But let's start with Overwatch. If you're cool with that, Nick, does that sound good?
Let's do it. Let's do it, man.
All right, great. We're going to start with Overwatch. We're going to start in the OWCS, talking about specifically the main stage 2 brackets and a recap from this past weekend. So let me bring us over to the browsing. There we are. All right. So Championship Series was round 2, happened this past weekend. We've got some of the results. It was pretty dominant, a lot of 3 Overwatch, but we had some exciting storylines occur this weekend. Let me just move that around. Okay, great. Toronto Defiant has stayed on top. They're the ones who they won the first stage. They won round 1 of Overwatch Championship Series, and they're maintaining their dominance. But to be honest, it seemed like it was a pretty weak group overall. But we did see an interesting storyline with Who is Goldfish coming over the Dill Ducks. Some of these names, Nick, right? You gotta love some of these esports names.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's like, Who is Goldfish? It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I feel like they just like throw a bunch of like words that they like and just play the lottery with it. Like whatever jumble they get, it's almost like a random Xbox Live tag.
Right, you know? Right. I was about to say, it feels like gamer tags galore. And then when they get picked up by an organization and sponsored, that's when they adjust, right? Speaking of a team that got picked up by an organization, Luminosity has been picked up, by Luminosity. They were Maryville College. They're sitting really pretty in this storyline currently because they've, first off, they've 2-0'd the group. They've beat Citrus Nation, which has been a thorn in their side, and Timeless, who came in number 2 in the last tournament. They went up against Toronto Defiant, almost beat them, but then really didn't almost beat them. And now Luminosity Gaming is finding their stride, finding the momentum, and coming out on top in this Group B. I would say that Group B has been the most difficult because of the level of play, the level of competition in that. There's not a lot of unknown teams, unknown players. The 3 teams here, straightforward. They've got big names. They've been thorns in sides for years. They've got contenders players and Overwatch League pros, ex-pros. And I think the biggest asterisk I'm going to put here for you, Nick, is like, I know you saw the grand finals from stage 1. It was Timeless versus Toronto Defiant. Ended up going 4-1, I think, or 5-1. And it felt pretty one-sided because of the momentum. Here we have the number 2 team, Timeless, now knocked out of Group B and Group 2 stages. Any sort of thoughts or like surprise? Because I know you don't follow this closely, but this is like kind of like a huge storyline right now.
I mean, usually when something like this happens, right? There's like two things. Either they just like dropped the ball and weren't in the right mindset, couldn't really play that day, or they were just never that good in the first place, right? And I can't say that they were never that good in the first place, but yeah, those are the two options that you're left with, right? Like, which one was it? Were they like, was the mental just not there, or was their ability to play just like, was that just like a fluke when they played like well against Toronto Defiant? Somewhat in some of those, like there was like a lot of like, because it's weird to say like they didn't play well. There's like a lot of things that people can comment on in those games when they played against them.
Yeah.
But there were some areas where they definitely didn't look like they were completely outclassed, really. So that's what I mean by that. They didn't seem like completely outclassed in most of the time that they were playing. They just ended up just getting beat by, like, it just seemed like they were just better.
Yeah, and that's tough because you've got a powerhouse team when you like match up like that against Toronto Defiant, one of all ex pros from Overwatch League. They've all got tons of experience. Half of the team literally won the last grand finals for Overwatch League. And then they're all on a paid organization that is like a remnant from that structure, that system. So like, it's a much different mindset. It's a much different resource level. It's a much different process and players and everything. But now you've got Timeless, who talked a lot of shit in the quote unquote off season between tournaments. Coach basically saying, if I was in the game, you'd be so afraid. We would have won that against Toronto. We would have like this and that. And now they're knocked out by Citrus Nation's Luminosity Gaming, basically. So like, it's a big like FU in the moment. And who knows, you're right. It could just be mindset. It could be process. It could also be the meta. We've seen a couple patch changes. We've now have Venture out in season 10, and that didn't really see much play this weekend, but you know, maybe this just wasn't their lucky draw, right? Maybe this wasn't their style of play or their mindset. Maybe they didn't figure this out, or maybe they're just boomed. Maybe the shit talk got backsplashed. What's that word? Backfired? That's the word. Backfired on them. But anyway, we go into the other two groups. Students of the Game taking Group D, which was also kind of like a mid. If one was to rate this, I'd say it's a mid difficulty, but you know, it's still hard to come out on top with these, win those games with that pressure strategy. Students of the Game was sweating a little bit, but they came out with the 2-0, marking their dominance in that group. And then we like to see M80 also. They were top 3 in the last one, come out on top, showing their dominance, knowing that this is, what's the word for it? This is how you do it. This is persistence and consistency. Winning is how you get to these points, how you become good, how you get known as good. They were the team that had a rocky start with the roster. So like coming into Group 2 now, Stage 2, they Group C, they're putting in their dominance. Coming over Pirates in Pajamas, who've been another notable couple former Overwatch League players. In this Group C or D, Nick, did you get to watch any of the games from M80, Students of the Game, Pirates in Pajama, or do you have any thoughts here?
I'm just following M80.
Okay.
Like, I'm just following M80. And the reason for it being is that they probably have the best story over the whole entire start so far of just being completely exploded, right? Like they're completely done for, team dropped, brand new team comes up, and then we have to worry about like what's the synergy going to be like, how well they're going to play with each other. And you know, are the personalities going to mesh, right? And like, who's going to be able to give orders, stuff like that? Are they going to listen to each other? And it just shows that they are in direct contrast to what we see with Timeless, right? Like,
yeah, man, that's a really good point. Like, we have a tale of two teams here, where we have a Timeless who came out strong in Stage 1, and now M80 had that showing, had that little bitterness after how Stage 1 ended, and it probably put a fire under their ass, whereas Timeless might have been sitting pretty with the new meta. Maybe they just, you know, got unlucky, of course, but then it could have been a lot of other things underneath. So that's an excellent point. I'm really intrigued by that one.
Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate on that one, I would say like maybe there was a chance where people were coming in and like just underestimating M80 and like if they were ready for the tournament or not, like if they got enough practice, like there could have just been like, you know, like a little bit disrespectful mindset of it, of like, you know, how good can they be if they haven't really practiced at a team for that long, this, that, and the third? And then how much did that impact the actual mental of the losing teams against M80, like thinking like they should be beating them because they probably didn't practice enough more than them. and then they end up like losing to them and stuff like that. So like, M80 is like, I don't want to say like they're the underdog because they're like winning, right? But they're like they're that slow horse in the beginning of the race, right? Like it's really like what it is. Like you just got to watch them and see like how far they're going to take it.
True.
It's super interesting just to see like where these players are going to end up by the end of this.
Right. And like looking at the roster real quick here with M80, I think this was a team that was previously looking for an org before the tournament started, before stage 1 tournament started. And then M80 as an organization blew up 40 minutes before. Like, right, that's the narrative we keep talking about. That's the one that's going to impact them. So, of course, they didn't have much time. They kind of jumped in literally like an hour before tournament started, game started to make this happen. But I believe they're a team that kind of knew who they were already and played together. But yeah, like that's a lot of volatility in a short period of time. And like something like the Swiss stage where you're going up against randos who are just trying to make it basically, you're not really getting a lot of true competition, especially the skill level. We have Hawk, who's talked about as being the top tank in NA, like maybe even ever. The versatility and the way he persists with it, and he's just so good when it comes to that tank slot and knowledge and experience on it. Pelican, Ultraviolet, Happy Liar, they're not also names not to balk at because they're like there's just strong DPS and healers who have the experience and then have the knowledge base, the wisdom, as well as the pedigree. And like just to kind of say that too, to your point, like maybe they were just down or like it coming together and everyone was kind of, what did you say? Everyone was kind of like against them, not against them, but like thinking low on them because of the situation, like as the underdog. But I think they probably beat themselves up the worst. They probably gave themselves the hardest time coming into in third place. And I think that kind of showed at the end of the tournament and a lot of the exit interviews they did with like content creators and whatnot. But this is a team that is the underdog, ironically, but if you look at this roster, they're not underdogs. These guys are like the best in the world and they need to like step up to fight Toronto, but like they've got the juice for sure.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, like sometimes the veteran teams can like do it. And that's another thing with like meshing as for like veterans. Like veterans do have distinct ways of playing the game and distinct thoughts and processes on strategy inside the game. So it's pretty cool that they're all pretty much on the same page, like is what it seems like with their games. So let's see. Very excited to see where they're going to go in the tournament and everything like that.
Yeah, me too. A lot more coming, and like let's actually switch over into what to expect because this group stage was really just deciding what the final bracket for the main stage, Group 2. I really wish Overwatch would kind of consolidate the way they're naming each stage, each season almost, because it's like a 3-month. Here's stage 1, here's stage 2, but then here's the main stage or main bracket or final bracket. Anyway, we're in the tournament portion of stage 2 here, and we've got our team settled, and we're going to run down exactly that and see what this future narrative for these professional teams and these not professional teams who have a really good shot at winning are coming up. First and foremost, the prize pool for this upcoming stage 2 tournament is 30 grand for first and an invitation to the Dallas Major, which is DreamHack Dallas. 30 grand, nothing to like hesitate at. Definitely going to be wanting to push that, but I think the bigger prize is going to be the 500 circuit points because we've seen from a stage 1 into stage 2 how much the points matter. You've got players who've done some transitions. We've got some teams trying to game the system and it's fallen flat. So it really seems that these points carry weight and hold weight to that, and not in a transferable way, which kind of enjoy. Second place here, coming in with a cool 15 grand, half of what first place is. They're not getting invited to the Dallas Major. They'll still have to play out and see if their circuit points make it. But that's a fight for another day. And then third and fourth, 10,000 and 7 grand collectively. Any thoughts here with the prize pool or the circuit points, Nick, before we move into the teams competing?
No, I mean, like the circuit points, do they work similarly to like other tournaments that I've experienced? The circuit points, like, are they gonna, if they get a certain number of points, do they get buys on like the first stages of the Dallas Major and stuff like that?
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe we can look that up, but I would assume that that would be the case, right? That's how a lot of other esports. We'll talk about how the MSI is doing it, and I believe that's how they're doing it.
And 7,000 is a little weak for like last place. So like I would prefer to see that bumped up just like a little bit, maybe like 10, 15, 20, and then the 30. But you know, it seems pretty low for like I mean, this is what a lot of pros like talk about, right? A lot of streamers talk about it, like they're good enough to be pro players. Sometimes it just doesn't pay. Like this seems pretty good. Like if you were to just say like, oh, you know, somebody went to a tournament and stuff like that, but like, you know, $7,000, $2,500 for a 5-man like org.
Right.
It's a lot of sweat for $500.
No, that's a fair point, but I think with this and like just a little bit of devil advocate here, this is the first an organized tournament of OWCS. It's stage 2, but you know, as an overall. So these have been placed since the start of everything. They're not going to change it halfway through because that will be a little bit weird or wacky. This is also Blizzard talking about, so they probably have the money, but they want to see the success of it. They might also be recouping marketing strategy or figuring out, putting their ducks in a row. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here because they have been making some forward progress headway in that way. But of course, we don't forget about the other things literally the Overwatch experience was a squeeze blood from a stone kind of situation. But yeah, I would like to also see more of a prize pool to make it more sustainable for these players, because yeah, you can't compete with a top level streamer and how much XQC might make in the Overwatch League streaming and going to variety versus how much he made as a pro. And you kind of want to be able to bridge that gap so that this is at least part of that income stream. This could be a part of the journey, and that symbiosis would be like a good hand in hand, which is an interesting narrative because this tournament, Nick, I don't know if you saw some of the streamer teams had competed and they'd gotten into the Swiss round. They had gotten top 20, I believe, top 16. One team, Emong, J3, Custa, Apply, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who the 5th person is. But off the top of my head, they were a stream team that got so close. They came in ranked 21, I believe, in the final standings, but it literally came down to their last, it was CarQ. That's who it was. It was CarQ. I can't believe I forgot Mr. Info CarQ. Anyway, they came in like 21st or 23rd of this, and like it was so fun to watch them learn in between these tournaments, watch them play in these tournaments because they were all streaming the content. You got to do it for the content. But I feel like, and I believe that is a great sustainability model. And I don't want to like lower quality and just have them go in because they just, you know, get handed the golden ticket. But I'd like to see more teams like that, more of these Overwatch personalities, these players, professionals stream more and build that community so they can make bank and then compete in these things. But I think that also depends on the interest of the fans here and these storylines and these communities overall.
Gotta get Ludwig and Moist Critical involved to get an Overwatch team instead of Apex.
It'd be cool to see. It'd be really cool to see if OWCS can put a content tournament together, a content creator tournament together for that reason, for those purposes, and like have one captain with a bunch of like Overwatch pros, Overwatch former pros or contenders or tournament winners here like this. That'd be cool.
It would.
But you know, just to kind of wrap this up, you know, we've got 30 grand first place. It does go into 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. They do walk away with something. Top 4 get 7K or more. Bottom 4 get 4K or less. And like you expect that sort of spread, but yeah, you're right. I'd like to see a bigger prize pool overall. And maybe we will. Maybe we'll see after the future. Let me just switch screens real quick as we show our pretty faces, and we're about to show the pretty faces of the teams that are competing. Let me see if I can find a bracket. That was the group stages. Okay, here we go. Perfect. All right, going back into it. We have Toronto Defiant going against Citrus Nation. This is going to probably go in the way of Toronto Defiant, the way that Dominant has been. But Citrus Nation has been a thorn in the side for a bunch of these top teams. And they might have a secret strategy in this meta where they can come off strong. I don't think we've seen Toronto play in the new meta here. But I want to throw it to you real quick, Nick. Just quick prediction, Toronto Defiant, Citrus Nation. How do you think it's gonna go?
Is Toronto Defiant. Like the fact that I don't know anything about Citrus Nation like says it all, in my opinion. But like, you know, I can't be too sure. But yeah, I would say Toronto Defiant over Citrus Nation. And then
yeah, it's a pretty solid choice, pretty safe choice. Citrus Nation might have that underdog storyline here, might come out on top, but not that they won't come out on top alone, but we know if Toronto goes into the losers bracket, the lower bracket, they will be back and they will have vengeance.
Toronto Defiant's a bunch of cutthroats, bro. Like they literally do not hold back. Like they're not going to be like, all right, give them this one.
Right. And I saw a meme. I saw a meme recently where it's like Toronto Defiant, and they're just like casually playing. Like it's not them; it's just like somebody just walking through a field, whatever. And then it's showing like other team, and it's just like the dude furiously tapping the keyboard and mouse, just like and sweating crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. No stress, bro. Like they're a bunch of sweaters, but like they're just gonna roll through. I really don't think that there's much like competition like in this. Like maybe M80 gonna come out and just like I bomb their dreams.
Oh, you're going bigger picture here, bro.
That's it. All
right.
I mean,
I mean, in the rest of these teams, do you see any matchups that spark your interest? Ones you're going to watch here? Yeah, I know you're going to watch M80, but
I'm going to watch the upper bracket semifinals of Luminosity Gaming versus M80. I am not going to watch Toronto Defiant get to the finals at all. Like at all.
Are you going to watch them in the finals?
Yeah, I'll watch them in the finals.
Okay.
But I'm not watching their road to success whatsoever. Okay.
Not
watching that at all.
I think that's fair because it would be really shocking for them to lose, but makes for a fun tournament if they do. I'll be sure to text you if they do. This way you can tune in and watch them in the lower bracket. Because you promised you wouldn't watch them get to the finals. But I'm going to hold you asterisks on that it's in the upper bracket. But if they go lower bracket, I'm going to make you watch. Probably not, actually.
Sure, but yeah, no, I like they're not going to sit in the lower bracket at all. Like,
and if they do, I think they're just going to bounce right back and streak it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. If they want to take it easy, they're going to pull Chinese Olympic volleyball team. Okay, it's just like throw a match. Okay, just absolutely throw a match and then go to the lower brackets and then just go like take it easy. Put their feet up on the desk while they're playing. Like they might get like that level of disrespectful. But no, like they're gonna make it all the way through. I don't think that they're actually gonna drop a game unless they want to.
All right. Well, looking at the rest of this tournament bracket here, my notability is going to be Luminosity Gaming and M80. M80 2-0, Luminosity 2-0. They're going to be playing each other in the second round if the expected win happens, of course. But, that is TBD. You have to play the game any given Sunday kind of mentality. Who is Goldfish might come out and surprise people, but I believe they've already lost to them. So, we might have a repeat and show here. Sorry, I'm getting all dyslexic here. FMCL is playing M80. Same situation. They might have like a surprise pick, but they might be planning on traveling through the lower bracket here, planning for their match against Who is Goldfish or Citrus Nation, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put the finals at M80 versus Toronto Defiant.
Okay.
I think it'll be a close one between Luminosity Gaming and them. And then FMCL. Every time I look at it, I call them Fooly Cooley. Like it's just Fooly Cooley.
That's the same thing that's tripping up my brain, man. Same thing that's tripping up my brain.
So yeah, Fooly Cooley gonna lose in their first game against M80. And then we'll say Who is Goldfish wins the whole lower bracket.
Really?
Yeah, Who is Goldfish wins the whole lower bracket because they're gonna Citrus Nation is just gonna be completely disheartened. But they're just gonna be haggard after the game. Unless they give up for their mental. Like that's what I would do. Like if I was Citrus Nation, play around and play the first game, see how that goes. And we know how it's gonna go. So after the first game, just give the mental up. Just be like, whatever, mental load, I don't care. Go to the lower bracket and then just pub stomp up until the end. But I think but if they don't do that, I think they're going to ruin their own mental. and they're going to be real. Like it's
Yeah, I think the high level
it's
teams. I think the high level teams live to compete at this level, live to compete in this format. I think everything prior to this is like a snooze fest for them, generally because it's like stress test, right? They've tested themselves, they limit pushed themselves to these points before, and this was like almost every week previously, and now they pretty much have to go through a month of playing nobodies and Swiss rounds and randoms and then finally get to here. I think here is where they take it seriously, and this is where like it does make or break, like you're saying. Do they show up or shove out, basically? But I think those teams who have it are gonna. My prediction, I think Luminosity is gonna take it over M80. I think M80 is gonna put that on the backs in the lower bracket and push. Dante's been leading Luminosity really well, and the team has showed up with him around him to support him as a tank. So I think they're gonna take it in the upper bracket for a good amount of bit. And I mean, on a side note, if they don't, I think lower bracket suits them just fine and well. And really, I think it's those three teams. Maybe a Citrus Nation in the lower bracket makes a run, kind of knocks off some of the lower, if good placements, bad placements. If they go against Luminosity or M80, depending on who comes out of that, they'll have a good shot because they've been upsetting Timeless as well. They've been a thorn in the side. So I don't think there's any question. Again, Toronto takes number one. I would be willing to put Luminosity taking number two on this one. But I think M80 is a good third option or a good stand-in where they actually take number two. But yeah, that's our brackets. I think that's our predictions. I don't think we made any crazy predictions here. We're not saying like, you know.
I went a little crazy. Like mine's a little disrespectful on Luminosity, just in general. I do think Luminosity has like the King's Avatar. If you don't know what that is, that's unfortunate for you. But like I think that's their story right now is that the old pro gets like not kicked off a team, but he leaves like a prominent team and then starts his own team with a bunch of like up and comers. And that's kind of like Luminosity Gaming. It's called King's Avatar. Sick. Anime or manhwa or live action, whatever you want. But yeah, I'm only disrespectful because this school, like it's a school team.
It's a school team with some pros on it. It's not just a Dante, a single pro. It's like a 2 or 3 pros, former pros, and I think a couple contender players, but still, I don't think you're wrong in that. I don't think you're outside of the community in a lot of ways because they've looked at them as not showing up, and I think we're starting to see them show up. That's where I'm at. So I respect that.
That the school stopped. Like this is a thing that could like sell their merch. Like they could have cool like way cooler like esports merch shirts and stuff like that. Like I just don't get why they would give up. You know.
Well, in that way too, I think if you see the writing on the wall from Overwatch League, maybe that was the case, and maybe there's just not enough orgs around. So I feel like the college avenue is still a viable strategy because they're getting an education, they're getting housing, etc., and then they're competing still, and they're doing it maybe for college credit. They're doing it with scholarship, perhaps. You know, colleges are definitely picking up a lot more esport teams because it's where a lot of people want to be. And it'd be really cool to see them get to an NCAA level, college football, basketball level. We just saw March Madness, the women's leagues killing it, bringing in so many viewership. And like now that we've starting to see actual sponsorships and deals for players, individual likeness and whatnot, that's really cool. So this is like another avenue to tap into because otherwise you have like a Caitlin Clark who's making shit money by comparison to her male counterparts, but then also like less than her counterparts as far as brand deals go. You know, I'm not really going to cry for her. She's making a ton of money. It is notable to like that, but like I'd like to see the rest of her team be able to make some money from brand deals, etc. And like currently it's only the superstars that are doing it. So like this video game avenue could open up a whole nother aspect, a whole nother region for people to make money through streaming, through tutorials, through YouTube, through coaching of and that source, like a masterclass perhaps, through internet community brand deals, like a social influencer. Like Livy Dunn does it with gymnastics a whole bunch. So like it'd be really interesting to see if esports can open that door for a traditional sport way, and colleges kind of put that hand in hand. But that's a conversation for another time. Any final thoughts on that before we move on, Nick? I want to give you a shot to sort of add anything if you'd like.
Onto The WNBA? I don't
Well,
watch it.
not just the WNBA stuff, but the college esports stuff. Like a Caitlin Clark is a traditional sports star who just brought in millions of views for the colleges, millions of dollars selling jerseys, etc. for the colleges, getting those brand deals. Do you think like a Dante is going to do that for a Maryville? Do you think Caitlin Clark's other teammates?
No. I think the fact that they sold the team is the reason why it won't happen. The fact that it has nothing to do with it's to do with the college, but it has nothing to do with the college anymore. Like it's Luminosity Gaming. Like
perhaps
if you were to call that like the college team or something, but like no one's going to be like, when you think about it, like what school are you going to go to for like esports? It's like I'm going to go to I'm going to go to Maryville College. Like it's just not going to be in the same sentence. So I think like that's where it's like not a hurt, but it's definitely not an enhancement.
It's interesting you say that because I kind of see what you're meaning and you're talking about, but we also see like we live not too far from Rutgers here in New Jersey. And I know at one point they were looking for a brand deal in the stadium. I don't think that's unusual for colleges to get brand deals like that, organization deals. So it'd be interesting if Luminosity Gaming or Maryville College made that structured deal where they call it their Luminosity Gaming Center, right? And they associate with the team name, but it's for the college. So it's not like the Rutgers PepsiCo. It's the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, but it could be played at Pepsi Stadium. Anyway, it might be interesting to see that, and that kind of brings a good point. And that's where I like the little asterisks I would like to put on onto your point for it. But I do believe we need to move on, and we're going to move into our next topic. Which is we're going to be going into the the Esports World Cup. It was just announced, and it's something. Nick, you want to walk us through this a little bit more?
All right, so with all the information that I have, based on all the information that I have about the World Cup of esports, right? It's going to be hosted by Prince Mohammed, right? He's the prime minister of Saudi Arabia, right? And the crown prince and this, that, and the third. He's the guy over there. But so he's starting this tournament, and what it seems like is there's a lot of games that are going to be on there that they're going to have pros for and everything like that. But it's mostly supposed to be like organizational support. So it looks like the way that it works, the breakdown is, let me see if I can find it again. The breakdown seems to be like there's going to be organizational reward. It's an organizational tournament for the most part, right? And so that's like a majority of the rewards are going to be for that. And then there's also like if you place in these tournaments, if you have the ability to get to these tournaments, first off, there's like $7.1 million that are just going to the people who placed in the tournament. So it's already lucrative for you to just get there.
Yeah.
As these people.
And of course, that comes from the Saudi government sponsoring it, so they have the cash flow, the capital to like make this happen. Kind of interesting in that way, where you're talking about it's going to be organization based, almost like a free for all franchise league, right? Yeah.
So there's like the club championship, the game championships, and then the qualifiers. Like so, in order to qualify for all these tournaments, $7.6 million are going to be for the qualifiers. Then the also crazy thing is 1.1 million is going to go to MVPs for each tournament of each game, and each game that's going to be there, which we didn't go over yet. But the games, starting off are going to be Overwatch, as we already discussed, right? League of Legends, another one that we talk about over here. It's going to be Apex Legends, Fortnite. I
got the full list right here.
Rainbow Six. That whole thing, like there's so many of them that are going to be there, and a bunch of them that we don't even know about, like that a lot of people don't actually know about, right? Mobile Legends Bang Bang, which is basically just League of Legends, just like, I don't want to say like a ripoff, but like,
Well, yeah, it's the mobile. It's a mobile game clone, so like it's probably got a big population across the world, and that's probably what they're hitting, like the largest demographic across a bunch of different games. So yeah, Apex Legends, Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2. EA Sports FC Football Club 24. Interesting that's EA Sports, not FIFA. So that might
FIFA does its own thing. It's so big that FIFA does its own huge
True.
World Cup with people and stuff like that. So I'm not sure, you know.
True, but the games are what's it called? The games are played.
It doesn't like FIFA has something like there was some kind of drama or controversy going over with like the Middle East of some sort and FIFA
With the World
like,
Cup and like by yeah, there's a
hosted in like the middle of like summer in the desert basically. They wanted to have like the FIFA World Cup and shit. So
yeah, it's pretty. It's still allegedly, but it's pretty much case in point that they bought the tournament, the location, and the spot, and then they've really pushed a lot of interesting situations. And I say that politely because I can't do it justice. There's so many things and nuanced points in that where it is like, wow, no, they definitely were fucking around, and like it was scary. I'm intrigued by this because they're calling it EA Sports FC and not FIFA, and I believe the branding rights on the game, unless it's changed, has been FIFA with EA. So like that's an interesting thing where it might be, distancing themselves from it, kind of like trying to save face from that situation where the World Cup, where they're paying people off, they're threatening people, etc. Again, check with other people. I can't give it enough justice right here, right now. I don't have the proper information, but it's out there. But moving on to the rest of these games here, Fortnite, Garena Free Fire, never heard of that one, but I'm sure it's another mobile game. Honor of Kings, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, the one you mentioned, League of Legends, Overwatch 2, PUBG Battlegrounds, and PUBG Mobile. Interesting, there's a differentiation of those two games. Rainbow Six Siege, which we've seen a pretty vibrant esport for here in North America, and I believe Europe also loves that game. Ren Sport, which I think we were talking about, that was the werewolf game. That wild one we were talking about, the Apex. I think it was called Ren Sport. Either way, moving on, Rocket League, StarCraft.
That's a racing game.
Okay.
Ren Sport is a
rally car racing game, I think.
Is a racing sim, one of the titles looking to make its breakthrough in the mainstream esports with the Esports World Cup. So it's probably going to be close to like the iRace thing. So it's got to be good enough that people can use it as an actual training simulator for like racing. That's like if it's not up to that standard, then it probably won't make it.
Like a 1-to-1, yeah. Well, then we also have Rocket League, StarCraft 2, Street Fighter 6, Teamfight Tactics, and Tekken 8. Interesting, we only see 2 fighting games, Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, but I guess that's kind of understandable. There's no Guilty Gear on there, at the very least.
Guilty Gear's not big enough. Like really, like it's a cool game and everything like that, but you know how it is for us.
Well,
we'd have to travel far enough for good to play in tournaments and stuff.
Sorry, man, you cut off a little bit. I think your internet got a little spotty, but what about us? Go to Florida to get a good fighting game, you said?
No, like certain games just end up just like being more local off of the East Coast and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Super Smash Bros. Comes to mind with that. And like with that, though, I wonder if it's because Arc was doing its world tour, the developer for Guilty Gear does its own world tour, so I wonder if they're just holding off on having a world tournament associated here. And then we also have a Nintendo, no Smash Bros on that list. It's kind of like a weird little snub, but I wonder how much of that is Nintendo's play, as well as just like you said, the grassroots communities, just more or less of how it works and what it does. But good to see you're back. I think your internet dropped us for a little bit. It wanted to ghost us, but I was just wrapping the
thing. Go ahead.
I was just wrapping this part up where it's like we don't see Smash Bros, where you see more of like a localized, local gaming community kind of play it tournament. But I was also going to say Nintendo might have something to say in that. They have their own thing they're trying to do coming up, so they might want to steer clear, do their own thing, not get associated with ethical. And I believe Arc is also a Japanese developer. I know Guilty Gear generally is a Japanese game, so I believe their developer is from Japan as well. So it might be a sentimentality there and just a cultural thing. But
there's some definite interesting things for some of these games. Like the lack of fighters being there, I guess, because the only other fighter that is prominent besides these two that pulls good numbers would be Mortal Kombat. Yeah, and Mortal Kombat's a little too gory for it. But interestingly enough, the Teamfight Tactics being the only auto battler there, and like Riot literally having 2 out of 3 of their games
I wonder,
that compete in esport.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
I wanted to jump in on that too, real quick, because I wonder if it's like in music, when I have like a Britney Spears, I'm a label. I have a Britney Spears artist. I'll try to get you to play the Britney Spears. You're the radio station. I say, hey, do you want to play Britney Spears? And you go, yeah, I want Britney Spears to be on the radio here. I don't know why I'm using a fucking reference from 20 years ago. I should just say Doja Cat or Ice Spice. Yeah. But if I have an Ice Spice basically here, and you want. If you want to play Ice Spice on the radio, we have to sign a deal. But while I sell you Ice Spice, I'm going to go, okay, if you want to play Ice Spice, I need you to guarantee, okay, every 10 times you play Ice Spice, I need one of this artist, this other artist. I need one of this other artist, A, B, C.
I'd agree with it if Valorant was on the list.
True.
Valorant is not on the list, and I think as far as like, I mean, both of them make a good amount of money. Off cosmetics, Valorant and Teamfight Tactics, but I mean, I like Teamfight Tactics. I think it's fun as far as like the auto battlers. It's also a little bit easier for me to get into because I do like a lot of League stuff. Mm-hmm. But like it's fun. Like I played all the other ones too. Like I played the Dota one and stuff like that.
Yeah. Dota tends to come out with these new game modes and they're really solid off the bat. Like even just the MOBA genre, like they developed it and then into Dota, and then Teamfight Tactics, that auto battler came out from a custom game mode. But I wonder, like how much is it like just here, we want this deal. We're doing our own world tournament here for something like Valorant. So we're not going to include Valorant, but here's the other games that we could put in here. And what is this thing called? The Esports World Cup. The organizers of the Esports World Cup, I think, is the Esports World Cup Foundation. Wow, very creative. But I think maybe they went to Riot and they're like, we want League of Legends. So like, even though League of Legends has its own world format, world tournaments, brackets, series, leagues, etc., it was probably one of those noteworthy games where they just wanted to pick and choose it and get out. And so then Riot made the deal of like, okay, take these two with them, and we're going to do our own with Valorant. That could also be a format issue because they did have Counter-Strike for that, like plant the bomb, disarm the bomb kind of style, but I don't see the other ones really. I don't see a Valorant there. I don't see So
there's definitely some things that are missing, but again, like I do think it's more of an organization thing. Like I think I've said this to you before, where I think that should be like the way that we like move into it with like esports, because I don't think like solely picking up like one esport itself. I don't think that they're like hugely profitable by themselves, like most of them. True. But I do think they're super like entertaining when bundled together, right? It's kind of like Hulu or something like that now. Like a lot of things are just like bundled together, which makes it more accessible to people because then you're able to get to see all these other games. So I think it's going to be really cool, and we might see it being something along the lines of like there might be more pro players after this in certain things. But I think the one thing that everybody needs to realize when it comes to all of these games, right, is so Dota 2, I don't know how many of those players are actually going to care and how good the competition's going to be, simply because the prize pool isn't big enough for Dota.
Well, let's actually switch over into the prize pool here of overall. And right, Dota has a very big prize pool because they have a lot of community support. They've got a lot of funding that Valve does in a very good way, a very honest way, by comparison to other tournament organizations and organizers, where the split is actually fair, even, it makes sense. And it's a lot of community-driven things. Like they make a cosmetic, and then 90% of that cosmetic sale goes to the competition prize pool, right? So let's bring up the prize pool here real quick. It's a very brief breakdown here, but more or less it's going to have a prize pool totaling over 60 million US. Ooh, I messed that up. 60 million US, which I think they're looking for the largest. They're really looking for this tagline, the largest prize pool in esports history. So it's a lot of money collectively altogether, but it's going to be broken down into each game, into gold, silver, and bronze, etc., as well as the MVP awards. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like you mentioned, it's almost going to work a little bit like F1 works, where at the end of the circuit, end of the year, you have a prize for the best operator, the driver who wins the most points. Do you have the best what is it, constructor, I believe it's called, basically the team that like funds and builds the car. So like you've got that, and then of course a lot of these leagues, they've got like MVP prizes and like rookie of the year and stuff. So like this version here, they're going to give an MVP award. Blech. How now, brown cow? I can't talk, I gotta get the foot out of my mouth. But they have an MVP award as well as some qualifier prizes just by getting in, I guess, stipends to travel, etc. But we're talking $20 million for the club championship. We're talking $30 million plus. I want to know what that plus means for game championships. $7 million going out to qualifiers, any team who qualifies, and $1.1 million going out to people who get voted as the most valuable player. This, I don't know how many matches are going to be, but this one seems like it gets small pretty fast. But maybe an extra 50K, 25K, 20K for being the MVP of the game ain't too shabby, right?
I mean, it's not. I mean, there's 19 games, $60,000 for like for the club prizes. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
So like so if you think about it, like the club is, they're gonna have to distribute that out just in general. It's only says 20 million there, but in their advertisement, let me see. Look back on their,
well, we can verify that information, but like when you get to these
that's right, it's correct.
When you get to these large numbers, it's also hard to like fathom what 20 million actually means. And that's why they like to inflate this, why they're saying, oh, they're giving away $60 million, because they want that tagline to say, we gave away the most money in esports history possible. And that's cool and fun. And people really only hear the most money ever.
I mean, that's kind of thing. This is interesting. Just for context, like Dota, the prize pool for 2021 was about $40 million for Dota 2.
And that's one of the most funded.
Just throwing that out there. Like, I don't know how they're going to be, like, I don't see any one of these numbers being $40 million. So, like, they're going to say it's, like, all combined, but, like, really they're just going to be handing out, like, $20 million to, like, a club for the championship. Like, that, we'll have to see how it goes. Are they going to, like, put up people on, like, their team and stuff like that? Right. But they already did, like, the advertisement. They already showed, like, which pros are going to be there. Like, T1's going to be there with Faker and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And in a lot of ways, I'm going to just monologue real quick, hard switch camera. But basically, it feels like they're putting on a show. They're aiming for entertainment. They're aiming for a show. They want to put this dog and pony kind of dance here. They want to offer the largest prize ever. They want to bring out the biggest names in video games of the last 10 years that are competing. So like it's very interesting here to see, but there's going to be some flags. Of course, obviously, where's the funding coming from? Of course, we can talk about that. But I think the bigger issue is going to be how they're going to organize it. No one's ever done something like this before. No one's ever done this possibly for a reason. They've won it. I think the closest thing might be the Nintendo Power Glove tournaments back in the 90s, which was, right, the Game Wizard ones. You remember those?
No, I was referencing the movie The Wizard.
Oh, the movie Wizard, yeah. Where and like there's King of Fighters, which does it in a way, but I don't think anybody's ever really done it on a global scale for this many games with this kind of prize pool. And like tournament organization needs to be on point. And like they're getting some practice with Overwatch right now because the same organization, I think, funds Face It. It's the same sort of expertise area of being run in the Middle East. I think Saudi also runs Face It. And the Face It organization, tournament runners have been running it since, what's it called? Well, since pretty much 4 months now. And there's been a couple hiccups that have been notable, and some of that's been like fault of the players and coaches who are not reading the rules, who are just like maybe being neglectful, and to put it nicely, dumb. But, like gamers are going to game. professionals are going to be professional and try to like win. And if you're in a competition, you're going to take every chance you get to get that edge. So maybe they're pushing the boundaries on it, of course. But that's one of those things the tournament organizers need to figure out and do, especially when you get to a scale this big. There's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of people involved, and they need to get it right the first time. And of course, there's going to have to be improvements over time, and that's expected, but they can't be a break moment. It has to be a bend moment. I mean, that's my monologue. That's my thoughts here. And I think that's where the friction is going to come from this tournament, on top of the already out there conversation about who's running it and where's the money coming from. But I'm a little excited to see this competition. I'm excited to see what this does in regions as well as local areas of esports. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you're looking at with this this competition, Nick?
The ass whooping everyone is about to receive from South Korea in StarCraft 2, like, the ass whooping is going to be like you're a 5-year-old again, and you're going to be so afraid that someone's yelling at you. Like, that's how, like, it's going to be real bad. Like, if those who don't know, StarCraft is different out there in South Korea. Like, everybody will say, like, oh, you know, South Korea, or, you know, blah, 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 like a lot of esports and stuff. Like, it's completely different, bro. Like, we might see the Flash make a comeback. Like, this might be sick. And, like, I don't know if you know who the Flash is, but he's like he was like one of the most popular people in Korea, just in South Korea, right? I say Korea, but we all know what the fuck I mean, right? Like Korea, like South Korea. The Flash is awesome. He's really good at the game. I don't think he'll be playing, but I do think that it will be a complete stomp. Like, we need to hope like Scarlet and somebody else might do some fun stuff. And I joke and say like Scarlet and somebody else, but like I think it's going to be a real pub stomp. Like, it's not going to be nice.
I hear you. I hear you on that, and that's an interesting point to make because South Korea's had such a big presence in esports for so long. It's hard to imagine they'll have no representation there or minimal representation in the competition. In fact, they might have an abundance of representation there and an abundance of wins and prize money. So it might just be a lot of Saudi money going directly to South Koreans, basically. But I think that's the case right now. I know that's what's happening in the Saudi E-leagues currently, where they're just basically like funding South Koreans to come on over and play for them and in those competitions, etc. But I do think there might be an asterisk of if basically they need to get in. They need to get in to win. So if they don't play, if they're abstaining from it, or if they're tied to other projects or other things, they might not contractually be able to. So I think that's a good point to make and look at. Sorry, you look like you were about to say something.
No, I just had a thought. Like, the thing that you said earlier about like when we were talking about like team fight tactics and like oh, maybe they like, hey, you can get League of Legends if you take this other one, right? Okay. Isn't that exactly what, like, there's only like two things. Either Blizzard literally said, hey, I'll give you, please, Saudi Prince, like, please pick StarCraft 2, right? Or South Korean government was like, yeah, the only way we're doing this is if you bring StarCraft 2 to the world stage. Like, those are the only two possibilities. That's what popped in my head. That's a funny thought, but I do feel like there's a third possibility where StarCraft is still such a huge esport and it's such a classic esport that I wouldn't doubt that they pick that one and go, we want that. We're going to have that. And especially if we're going to do something like this needs to be here because we're going to pull all of the esport gamer nerds together into one infinity gauntlet of games here. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a fun event, you know?
Yeah. So. And speaking of fun events, we're going to move on to our next event. We have League of Legends Mid-Season Invitational, the MSI, coming up, the official draw where teams got to pick who they're lining up, happened this past weekend, and we're going to show you a little bit of what happened there, who's fighting who's playing who. So here's a quick rundown of the MSI 2044 primer, everything you need to know about what the Mid-Season Invitational is. Nick, if you're capable, can you run us through this information? Because you are our current League of Legends expert.
All right. So basically, out of all the big regions, just like we talked about last week, right? It's going to be 2 spots per big region. That's going to be Korea, China, North America, and Europe, right? And then we have all the other places, the other regions that are actually only getting one slot to come to MSI. Okay. And then the top spots for each one of the big regions, the big four, right? The number one seed from North America, EU, Korea, and China, they all get to go into, they get a buy into the bracket stage, basically. And then right now it's going to be the play-in stages. The play-in stages are basically where we get to, sort through everybody. And those are going to be the second seeds, and every single other region will be played in there. They got sorted into two different groups, two different pools, really. And that was basically like just to see who was going to play each other and everything like that. And I don't think you have what I have up on my screen. Who's actually going to be like playing each other and stuff.
Currently, I don't have us up on that, but we'll get to that in a second. Just again to reiterate, there's going to be two stages. The play-in stage happening on May 1st, which is in a week or so, but 7 days? And that's going to be like a play-in playoff where people have to compete to just make it into the tournament. And then after that, on May 7th and May 14th is going to be when the bracket stage, and that's what you already talked about. Currently, the teams competing have to fight to basically play to get a chance to win. Here's a schedule of all of that when that's happening. You could always pause or check this out on the lolesports.com. That's where we're at. Let's see if there's a broadcast schedule where and how you can watch it. Let me scroll back a little bit. So
it's going to be on the schedule.
Yeah. And then I have
the schedule and pick MSI.
Yeah. Just kind of, here's a list of all the different teams, but we're going to go to a more friendly version of that right here. A little bit better on the eyes. We're not getting flashbanged with the light background. I don't know how people do light backgrounds, man. I have to dark mode all day.
It's true. I mean, I do light background on some things, but like it's normally dark. Click standings, actually.
All right, let's go to standings. I'll bring us to a different one.
Yeah, because it'll actually show the bracket if you want to zoom out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll scroll across if we need to. But yeah, so we got FlyQuest, PSG Talon, T1, Estral Esports, and then the other side of this, Fnatic, GAM Esports, Top Esports, and Loud competing in this play-in playoffs, play-ins.
Yeah, so I mean, like this is the biggest problem with these groups, just in general, because these regions both got. Like T1 is a cut above the rest in Group 1 with all of these. Like, so it's literally going to be them winning this group, and then it's arguable, but I will be on this fence. Top Esports is the best team at the tournament.
Okay, so
they're the best team at the tournament, but they're the second seed from China.
Interesting. That's a kind of a notable sort of point out. You're making a strong prediction here that, T1 and Top Esports, I haven't seen them play this year so far since really the beginning of the season. So I'm not really
too certain. You saw that clip I sent you? I did. That's a faker. That's T1.
Oh.
Yeah, that's T1. So they're going to win that whole top area, and just like there's nobody who can really contest with them.
Ironically,
I'm like wrong.
Ironically, that clip you sent me was Faker getting a 4K, but in a losing game.
Yeah.
So
it was against the first seed. So that was the deciding factor. That was the whole match for that one was them see who goes as the top spot. The coolest thing about MSI to actually know right now, right, is that the winner of this gets an automatic entry into Worlds. Right.
So a whole half of the season is pretty much like good. They don't have to sweat.
Yeah. So like dope for the top four. It's super cool. But actually the let's say the bottom regions, right? The other regions who only get one seed that go to MSI, they only get one seed that goes to Worlds too, by the way. But if they win this, their region gets a second seed going to Worlds.
That's kind of cool where
they bring their boys with them.
Right, right. They basically create more room on the ship. What is it? What is that saying? A rising tide raises all ships, kind of thing. So if they win, they're going to bring an extra team, and I think it's cool. A
That's why.
tournament. What was that again? Like
That's
I
why
think. Okay.
I hope I just hope I'm wrong that that one of these like GAN Esports comes out of nowhere, and just like wins the whole entire thing. It'd be super awesome if they did, because then then you would get to see two from their region. We never get to see like two people from like their region, so or two teams from their region. I think that'd be like the coolest thing if we got like an extra team from one of the regions we don't normally get to see
Right.
in general.
And competitively, it makes sense because you have, it's a free spot, right? If you win worlds, you're kind of getting qualified through a different means, so you shouldn't take the region spot from the season points already. So I think that's fair. I think that makes sense, and it's really cool. So overall, in this play-in situation, you feel T1 is taking it off of this top bracket, pretty straightforward, and that top esports is gonna on the bottom here. Yeah, it's hard to.
I can't say anybody else that would actually like really do anything. Like top esports test is pretty. Is pretty. It's pretty good.
Right, I've heard some noise about FlyQuest just because the last stage that we watched, but it's hard to disagree with you or argue with you on this point in this schedule. But let's take a look at when and what we're seeing the play happen. Obviously, May 1st, like we said, is going to be the start of this competition. We've got FlyQuest going against PSG Talon, as well as T1 against Estral Esports. Do you want any quick predictions here? FlyQuest over PSG or Estral?
So click on PSG real quick. I just want to like be reminded of the players. You should be able to click on it, right?
I am not here, but I think I can from up here.
Let me go over here.
No, I got it. Good. We got Betty, Maple, Azzy, Junjai, Woody, and Hong Suo.
Yeah, so like Maple's good, Betty's good. Most likely, they're probably going to beat FlyQuest like 3-1. Oh man, my camera's messed up.
Yeah, did you change it, man? Were you screen sharing or anything?
No.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into here while I do some technical difficulty changing here. We're back into it. On the fly technical difficulty managing. But I don't know about I think it's hard to argue, like you said, a T1 and top esports coming out on top here. They're going to get the seat into the actual tournament. And these are just the plans for it. And I want to bring us over into the actual tournament real quick so we can go through that. The prize pool here, first place taking 50K. Percentage here, does that mean the player percentage, what they get, the teams get of that, or what?
Yeah, it's like that's what the 50% is, I guess, of the 250. The 50,000 is 20% of the 25,000 spread. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, yeah, of the total pool. Gotcha. Yeah. And then 40K for second place, 30 for third, and 25 for fourth. We're still seeing some pretty hefty prizes for this MSI tournament, and I think this is the point you were making previously, but I think this is also coming from a more sustainable esport than Overwatch currently. Infancy versus maturity. Almost, but
I mean, MSI makes some good money. It gets some good viewership numbers most of the time. Yeah. Well, this is where we also had what's his face? Oh my God, Mark Cuban, joined League of Legends for a little bit at MSI, right. And he did a little event and everything like that. So you get some interesting things going on.
Right, and I know Rick Fox owned a team in League and an organization in League for a while. I know those are names that have come and gone, and I know it's been more lucrative in the past, and it kind of we're seeing a bit of a recession overall, but as well as in esports. So it's nice to see this prize pool stay here, and I think this is the sustainability model that's going to lead the charge through this. So from 5th place to 8th place, they're still getting a hefty prize pool, 20K or 15K. This is I don't want to say it's the Super Bowl equivalent, but I guess it's like getting to the All-Star game. If you're having a tournament and the All-Star game for.
I mean, do you remember this is held in China?
Mhm.
So a lot of these teams and orgs are traveling. So it's pretty hefty to get their people all the way over there. So they should have a little bit of a higher like prize pool just in general.
And it is like a big tournament. They've had to play 6 months to even qualify for this. So getting here should mean something, right? So even last place is going to be getting 7,500. Let's take a look at the participating teams. We've already seen a bit of the play-in teams, but here's the bracket teams. Here's the teams that are guaranteed a spot in the actual playoff tournament. We've got Billy Gaming, which obviously is that big marketplace store brand, the online competitions, online marketplace store owning an esport here. G2, as well as Gen G, and then we just saw Team Liquid take first place in the tournament and claim their guaranteed spot here in the MSI. Anything to note about these 4 teams, these guaranteed teams?
They're all second place compared to TES Esports.
But then why aren't they here, man? Why aren't they here?
Well, I'm just saying, bad days are bad days. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like a bad game or anything like that. But I'm probably gonna put it on TES to win. I think TES is probably gonna win.
Okay.
Quote me on it if you want, but it's gonna be up to them or Gen G. I don't think anybody else is really going to win. T1 could have a really good showing. All right, so everybody on here, all the top teams and everything like that, and what I mean by this, Korean teams and the Chinese teams, right? The way that they play is they're very sound when it comes to macro and micro, just in general, right? And right now, T1 has the best decision making in games. Even in behind situations and stuff like that, the decisions that they make at the times that they make them are seemingly incorrect but lead to correct plays. So they'll go for Baron at the weirdest times at the moment, and it's because they know exactly how people are doing their macro and micro. And then they're just making these snap decisions all right, we're doing Baron right now. We have 35 seconds in order to clear this Baron. We're going to do it right now. And they did that a lot in the finals for South Korea. Okay. So that's something to be fearful of. But everybody else is just solid, just strong, solid play the way the game's supposed to be played. It might even be real boring for a lot of people to watch the Chinese teams.
I have a question for you, though, with that, if you don't mind. Is that an individual player skill ability? Is that a experience talent? These players have the experience that they're able to do that? Or is this that a coaching strategy, a research and analysis, analytics kind of thing? Are they able to train their players to look for these things, and it's a process, a procedural thing?
So, we're talking about Team 1?
No, yeah, what you're saying, where they're able to watch the micro of each individual player and know when the best time to attack is, when to push this or push that in the macro world because of those micro details.
So they have really knowledgeable, strong players on their team, Kyria, Owner, Gumayushi, Baker, and Zeus were they're all really strong, knowledgeable players. Baker usually, I don't know if Baker's the shot caller. I think he's I don't think he usually takes the shot caller role, which is why his past junglers, Bengi, was more of a shot caller. It feels the supports are usually supports and junglers tend to be more of the shot caller.
Yeah,
and Kyria and Owner, are most likely the person on that team. And whereas Gumayushi is a player that kind of stays back. I don't want to say stays back, but he's more reactive in his play style. Zeus is a wild card, and Faker is definitely more reactive. His game is to get the small mistakes on his lane opponent. He's not really let's crunch this dude down. Let's push him
Right.
out the game.
But
He's going to push him out with small advantages and stuff like that.
are you saying that like as an individual, then it's more as an individual that they're able to make that stuff happen, those micro moments and those micro decisions, and then collectively they just gel? Or do you feel like there's a coaching aspect that has kind of pushed them to like, hey, this is our strategy, we need to look for this, and when this happens we do that, and they've been so drilled on it? Because from what it sounds like you're saying like these players, the way they play, it's an individual thing, and they're letting the rest of their team know from an individual, bottom up basically. And it's not like a top down, where it's not saying like a coach is watching them in the middle of the game, but they go back and they review the play, they watch the tape basically, and then like they've learned over time and learned that way. So like for me, it sounds like you're saying it's the former, where it's individual, bottom up, that then communicates across, and not like a drilled teamwork from the coach kind of thing.
It's usually not like a drilled thing, but it would be a situation like if it does come up in VODs, like, you know, at this exact moment, guys, you could have taken this objective, right? Because like a lot of the game is around objectives. Taking objectives matters in League of Legends, right? It's the most important thing that can possibly happen. And in that sense, like there's a problem with like a little bit of like, I guess my explanation of it is because there's so many different little micro things that eventually lead to these situations where they can make these snap decisions. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's trained inside of the coaching, like with the coaching.
Okay.
It could just be something that's referenced a couple different times over the course of like years. I mean, Faker has one of the longest tenures in the game.
And
right?
for him
and so like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for like that clip you showed me, for him to pull off that 4K out of nowhere, he knew he could do it, and like he just bombed them basically, and the other team had no idea what happened. But yeah, I get you with that.
Yeah, and some of these other players really haven't like been around for too long, just in general. I mean, Curia is like an extremely good player, but I think he's only been playing since like 2009.
Okay.
And like
only. Like, I mean,
it's not 15. 2019.
Okay, yeah, big difference.
Zeus and Curia are both like players from 2019. Let me see, owner. And I think probably about the same thing for him. Yeah, 2021.
Okay. So like they're not necessarily like super tenured, but they have this 10-year experience. They've got this knowledge base that's built soundly, so that they know when to like excel in their role, when to push the gas pedal and when to hit the brakes. That's what it sounds like, and that's cool to see.
Yeah,
and I was gonna say it's gonna make this tournament a lot more fun for me to watch, because I'm a League of Legends noob. I have no idea. I'm iron, right? Like I have no idea what's going on in the game. I'm just trying to survive, and like I do a decent enough job, but I also don't play the game much, so it's not my choice of games when I do get to play. But I could see that, and like I'm super fascinated by that idea of that little thing, and I'm gonna keep my eye on it for that. Is there something else that we should keep our eye on for this tournament with the team specifically? Other teams, perhaps, as we go into the rest of the roster here?
I don't like Fnatic as an organization. That's just me. Any like, you know, I'm not even going to talk shit, but like, I don't like Fnatic. I hope they lose. Like, get out of here, Europe. I like G2 just in general. I think G2 is awesome. But, you know, I'm not sure how well they're going to do, to be honest. Like, I really don't think that they're going to do too well at the moment.
Well, we're not going to get to watch them for a little bit until the back half of this tournament, but, you know, high hopes on that one. I did like how Team Liquid played, but I do feel like that's another one where it's like, I don't think they're going to be able to do much here in the bigger stage. But either way, they're here. They're getting a decent prize just by making it to the playoffs, the tournaments, not the play-ins. So here we have Estral Esports, FlyQuest, Fnatic, GM Esports. We've already kind of gone over this. Loud, PSG Talent, T1, and Top Esports. And your picks here, it's going to be a battle between T1 and Top Esports, mostly probably Top Esports winning, you said?
Yeah, like I think top esports is probably is arguably the best team in the tournament.
All right. Who
Just
do you
in
think is the
general.
first one that's going to get knocked out? If we take a look at the schedule here, obviously the first people who are playing are being most likely to get knocked out. But you think it's going to be one of these four, these eight? Bring it to the bracket here, because it's one loss and you're out, right? There's no loser bracket for this play-in.
No, there's loser bracket. That's why I said it's like if you zoom out, yeah, see that round 2 thing.
Oh, the round 2
3.
down here.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So there is a loser. It's a double loss elimination tournament style. I thought this was just like the continuation out of it.
Yeah, because at 2, 4, 6, 8, at the end of this, there has to be 4 teams that come out of the play-ins.
Okay, so with that, we're not going to see a loser until the second or third day, totally. Or loser, I mean a knockout until the second or third day. I believe second day is going to be how it works. Which of these teams do you see getting knocked out first? We go back into our schedule here.
It's actually mean. I think PSG will probably end up beating FlyQuest.
Okay.
I don't think FlyQuest is going to do good, so I'm assuming, like, and this is super disrespectful of me as like a North American, I'm going to assume that FlyQuest is getting knocked out. And so they would be facing, I think FlyQuest is going to be facing Estral Esports. I'm not sure, like, so
the knockout game is going to happen on Friday. No, it would happen on Friday the 3rd. And yeah. Who do you think it's going to be? A little bit of a shot in the dark here, but
I would assume it's going to be PSG is going to go there. T1's going to win. So it's going to be T1 versus PSG. T1's going to win that. So then PSG is going to go to the round 3 person over
you're
here.
You're doing math, man. Give me an answer.
Hold on a second.
You're doing math.
Hold on a second. I'm doing it properly. So I think Estral Esports is going to be the first team eliminated. The second team eliminated is going to be FlyQuest in group 1. Okay. And then for the other ones, I'm gonna say Gam is going to beat them. Top is going to beat them. Top's going to go to here.
You're doing math again, man. I want you to give me an answer.
I'd say Loud gets eliminated first, Fnatic gets eliminated second, and Gam and Top Esports move on in this bracket.
Okay. All right.
And I like, as I said, I have no faith in FlyQuest. So
I'm going to put my money behind Fnatic getting knocked out first. I have no reasoning behind it. It's salt. I'm throwing some spice into this mix, and I just like to see that happen. Do this a little prop bet, see what's going on, and because we like we said, we kind of expect top esports and T1 to come out of this, and I think if you're gonna have the longest run in the lower bracket, you're gonna have the most likely chance to get knocked out. So I think Loud's gonna have a hard time, but I think Loud is gonna take it over a Fnatic, but. We'll see. We have May 1st coming up is when the tournament starts. That's the start of all our excitement here. See if our predictions are correct. If we're wrong, probably going to be wrong, but it'll be a lot of fun to watch. I'm going to be looking out for those things that you told me, Nick, especially when we're taking a look at, what was it, Top Esports and how the play's happening? Or was that T1? I believe it was.
That's T1 is the snap decision makers.
Yeah, so especially looking at T1 and how they're making those decisions in game, in play. Their first match coming up this May 1st. But yeah, anyway, any little loose ends you want to tie up here? Any bows you want to put onto the MSI before we move on to the final topic?
No, not really for the most part. Like I wish that they did a little bit more for like the viewership. Kind of like what we saw with Plunderstorm when it was like the bounties and stuff like that. Like I would really prefer some really cool things that the viewers can like hope for or look for that were told to them in like the beginning, like little, like a bingo card.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't understand, like, why we don't do like a bingo card in these things. Like, they're very successful. They're super fun for a person to join along in general and everything like that. And, but
yeah, a very interesting form of engagement in the age of the internet. I'd like to see more sports do that. I know Twitch has been airing NFL games, and it's been a lot of fun to watch those because a lot of the prompts that come up of overlays where you can like, hey, is this drive going to result in a punt? Is it going to result in a touchdown? This next play, is it going to be it feels a little dangerous because as somebody who formerly worked in the online casino area, it felt very similar to that in the prop bets and sports betting, everything. Which can be fun, but then like we talk about, it could be dangerous. So I'd like to see that too. Like you said, a little more engagement on the community, a little more fun aspects of like, hey, bingo card. We saw 5K, a team wipe. We get like a star, and if we get 4 stars in a row or 5 stars total, we get a prize kind of thing. More investment in that aspect, but. If that's all, I think we'd love to see it. Get right on that. It'd be really appreciated. But we're going to leave that there for now.
Yeah.
All right. Of course, when we're finishing one topic, it means we're going into another topic, and we have one final topic to cover today on this podcast. Ximming. What is it? How do you do it? How to not do it? And why is it bad? That's pretty much it. It's going to be a quick monologue. It's a quick topic.
I disagree. I disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, first and foremost, Ximming is the usage of mouse and keyboard peripherals on a console. What this can do is it can provide a tactical advantage in the movement or the aiming on specific games. Some games like Farmer Simulator or Truck Driver Simulator, it doesn't really make a difference. It actually allows you to steer in a better way, much more fluid, etc. But with something like an FPS or predominantly an FPS, it creates a faster reaction time. It basically sets a new bar standard that happens. The biggest problem here is that a lot of console games, more recently, Halo Infinite, Overwatch 2, I think Call of Duty now does this too. But either way, these console games, they've basically added like an integrated feature that's behind the scenes on the games for auto aim. It doesn't mean that you're going to hit every shot, but what it does, it's like a snap. It's like a magnet. You get close enough to an area, it auto corrects into the center and will give you that benefit of the doubt. Doing that on the controller makes sense because controllers have certain limitations in how they operate. We're all familiar with them if you're playing a video game, going for anywhere from the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, old school D-pad to the greatest controller ever, the PlayStation DualShock 2, into the modern PS4, PS5, as well as the Xbox controllers at hand. There's a certain limitation, so the magnet aim helps a lot. And that's what Ximming is. Ximming basically exploits using a keyboard and mouse, which is easier to aim, less limitations on aiming that a controller has, and then benefits from that as well as benefits from those magnetic auto aims. So straight there off the bat, Nick, your thoughts on that? And you did come out strong with a disagreement. Tell me why so I can tell you you're wrong.
All right, so first off, right, I love the way you phrase it of keyboard and mouse is easier to aim, right?
I didn't say, sorry.
It's harder to aim.
I'm not saying that it's easier to aim.
Mouse is easier.
Sorry, I don't want to say it's easier to aim. I'm saying it's more fluid. It's easier in the flexibility and the fluidity, whereas a controller, it's the fluidity of the controller is a lot harder, not the actual mechanical.
Sure. As you heard it here first, in so many different words, it's better to play on a keyboard and mouse. That's what Billy's saying. Okay?
PC Master Race, let's go.
The console is punishing you because the games are worse on the console. So when you play with a keyboard and mouse, the games are worse on console. The auto aiming is not good in any shooter.
I'm asking you, why is it worse? Because it has auto aim? It's worse because it has auto aim?
It's a worse game because it has auto aim.
Okay.
Hands down. There's like...
Yeah, I just wanted you to clarify that. I want to understand what you're saying.
It's a worse game. It's a worse version of your game, no matter what. And then, like, people manipulated it, like, get wrecked. Like, take the auto aim out. The auto aim's the actual problem. And if your game is unplayable on console because you don't have auto aim anymore, maybe it's just an unplayable game on your console because your console sucks and you shouldn't play it on your console. Like, it's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. It's like, my music doesn't sound good on this. Can anybody do anything to this thing instead of me buying something else that'll make my music that I want to listen to sound better?
I mean, that part's a capitalist problem, right? That's a commercialization problem. And like, yeah, I agree with you that like, don't have auto aim, don't have snap lock aim and stuff, make a better game. But like, really the bigger problem, that is the biggest problem, tree hierarchy. But really this comes into effect because of crossplay, right? If you have a game on Xbox and being able to play against PlayStation, it's fine, it's fair. You play it on Switch, little bit advantage, disadvantage, because the Switch controllers are a lot different. They move different, hold different, and the motion aim could potentially affect that as well. But when you cross-play to a PC, that's where integrity gets compromised. So then people, like, you know, the designers want people to feel like superheroes. What was that, Nick?
Does that happen?
The crossplay, yeah.
When you crossplay, do you play against people on PC?
In Overwatch, on quick play, when you crossplay, you do play PC players against console players, potentially in the same rank, but not in comped. Yeah, but even with
Ximming only affects the console.
Well,
comp,
so
right?
this is why the story comes up a little bit. So in console comp, they play against other console players, and that's where Ximming is a problem. That's where the story comes up, because Blizzard is taking definitive action in Overwatch comp play for consoles, where there's been enough complaints, enough problems, enough sentiment that's negative for the game for console players, where they're basically they're calling it addressing unapproved peripherals, but TLDR, they're banning Ximming. You cannot use a mouse and keyboard on an Xbox, on a PlayStation playing Overwatch 2. And they're going to be able to detect that those peripherals as unapproved peripherals, and then they're going to ban you. And the bans are pretty strict, and we can go into those details, but this is why the story comes up. And like, it's that integration of different communities, different like groups that then like have friction when they come together. And like, I feel for the player here. I feel for the console player having to compete against PC players. And if you're doing in quick play where it's like a pickup game of basketball, hey, whatever, no big deal. We're just playing the game to play the game. But if you're doing it in competition, that feels sweaty. That feels unfair advantages. That feels like a new bar is set, you know, where everybody has to hit that space minimally. You have to buy those things. So that's like just a brief overview of the interview and why, not interview, this article and why it's coming up on this story and why we're having this conversation. So I agree with you that like, hey, take magnetic aim, take snap aiming out of your game. It's a bad game, but developers are going to argue they're going to want to make players feel good. They want to make them feel better. And like, I don't discount that argument, but I don't think it's a good argument either. I don't think it's a good argument. It's get good, nerd, basically.
Like, the context of it is, in our downscaled game, we want players to feel better because it's a poor experience to play our game on consoles. Like, it's a worse game. They're just sugarcoating it. This sounds like a hitbox situation to me. And I've already talked to you about the hitbox thing. I've been doing a lot of research on hitbox, the controller, and how, like, I personally think that this should be considered like probably cheating in fighting games, because it's like $300 to get like a hitbox, you know? So to clarify, real quick, when you're saying hitbox, you're not talking about in-game developing character hitboxes, hurtboxes. You're talking about the peripheral, the game board that is physically different in fighting games. Okay, I'm going to bring that up real quick to reference it. But yeah, I agree with you. It's like having the turbo button on those like Turbo GX controllers to like do an action repeatedly, instantly. So not really. Like, the way the hitbox thing works, right? Like, you're just using inputs instead of on an analog. You have buttons for up, down, left, and right.
Right. Here it is.
So it's like doing different combinations and stuff like that. Hitbox is the way you should be playing fighting games now, for the most part, because of the way that like a lot of the fighting game players have figured out how to I don't want to say like properly move their characters, but to like do things like, look at the price tag, it's $250. It's different from like a keyboard and mouse, right? $60. $60 entry fee and stuff like that. But in Street Fighter 6, they changed it so that the console player and the person using hitbox have the exact same thing when they do certain moves, right? And now the only way to do that is to get rid of auto aim. The problem here is auto aim. It's not like there's nothing else here besides auto aim. So now you can't use a keyboard and mouse. And let's say you're not a PC gamer, but you like using keyboard and mouse and you've used it for a real long time on the Xbox, because you could do that for a while, and on PS4 and stuff like that. You could use a keyboard and mouse because you play other games and stuff like that, right? You don't have to be a PC gamer to enjoy that style of input.
Right, but that style of input's more of a recent one. It's not if you're a console player and a classic console player, you're coming from an area of like controllers, and like to make the barrier of entry $250 if you want to compete, that's not healthy either. And I agree with you. I think auto aim is ultimately the problem. Design a better game, but like there's always going to be an arms race here. Like fighting games, this isn't the first time like a fighting game is going to have a mechanical advantage by a piece of gear here. There's been so many Smash Bros on the GameCube controller. They still use GameCube controllers on the Switch for that reason. There's now upgrading to something else, but it mechanically provided an advantage or a different ability so you can hit the controllers. You can remap buttons on things like that. Fighting games are the ones that you predominantly see stuff like that happen and be exploited. And some could argue in some degrees it's exploited in an unhealthy way. But you also see it in traditional sports with marathon running or sprinting. Nike Air Maxes have been banned in a lot of marathons or whatnot races because they have a carbon fiber layer in their sole that basically increase their runner's efficiency by 6%. That's if you want to compete in running, you have to buy a pair of those shoes basically, because you're going to be 6% more efficient, meaning you're not going to get tired as fast. You could be able to run a little farther, a little bit more spring in your step, and it makes such a huge difference. 6% on this fighting game keyboard because you're able to input slightly different in a slightly different way. It's going to challenge the developers to make a change like that, which then brings us to Overwatch, changing that. This is the reaction to Ximming on consoles. They don't want the game on the auto aim. And I kind of agree where auto aim is the problem. And then the secondary problem is the crossplay. But we'd rather have more players play the game and play the games together and play the games with friends than have Ximming. So they're not going to get rid of auto aim.
I mean, I think it's just like so here's a weird thing. Like Blizzard loves to split their player base. I don't see anybody. I don't see it being like reasonable for players at a high skill level on Xbox or PlayStation to actually like watch Overwatch League or Overwatch Championship Series, because they're not playing the same game. Like the champions that can be better on with auto aim on console with controller, if you're just limiting them to controller, and PS, I literally already just grabbed the accessibility controller. They'll never ban it, and you'll be able to mod the shit out of your thing and just zim the fuck out of everybody. Like, Blizzard is stupid. Their developers are idiots if they think that this would solve anything. Just get the accessibility controller.
I think that's
for people
why
with actual missing links.
I think that's why the language, as somebody who worked in community and whatnot, and like we had to like be on our toes and make regulations and policies for community facing people, like I think that's why they used the language they did, where it's like unapproved peripherals. So I think if they're doing something, they're going to do something where they can detect a certain level of modification, and then they're probably going to like just auto ban like over modification on accessibility controller.
I mean, like you mod it, like you personally mod it, like you're able to you're able to manipulate that actual device based
like a modulated exception. Okay.
Yeah, have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Controller for the
I've seen a bunch of different things.
Microsoft.
I've seen a bunch of different accessibility controllers, and I know Blizzard has been making a push for accessibility stuff, and that was one of the reasons they thought WoW was going to go to consoles soon. Obviously, also because of Big Daddy Microsoft buying them, they're going to put it in the Game Pass, I think.
Thanks, Spencer. Yeah. Daddy Phil Spencer is doing like some of the Lord's work, kind of. He's like, listen, my Xbox games, I'll put them on other consoles. I don't care. My exclusives, whatever.
Yeah.
He like buys Blizzard and he goes, Bobby Kotick, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, he's just like you don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, but he walks away with $40 million. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
but yeah, again, it comes down to the actual issue is the auto aim, and like I think the competitive integrity isn't there, and they're only trying, like, what they should be saying is competitive integrity for just the Xbox, and like just in general. And instead of just saying like, hey guys, you should all probably play on keyboard and mouse, and we took away auto aim, like, because that's the preferred method to play the game. It's not controller. It's not on console.
I wonder.
Pay me some money. Get on my battle.net. Give me your email address. That's what they want.
I wonder too if that like auto aim is coddling the player. Like I remember playing games pre-auto aims, like gonna date myself, like late 90s, early 2000s, especially with like Halo 1, Halo 2. And like there's a certain degree of it already there, but like there was a skill in that. You practiced, you got better at it. And like it was more freeform, more janky sometimes. Playing GoldenEye on the 64, not gonna go into the controllers and like how janky that was. But there was absolutely a skill in that. And it was more linear controls, more linear aiming. But like maybe that's that auto aim is coddling the players, where it's like you give them some time. If they love the game, you make a game worth playing, they're going to play it. They're going to get better at it. They're going to get better at aiming. And if you're giving them an auto aim, it might be like diluting that and causing its own problem. Like you're saying, like it's a problem that is its own solution.
Could you imagine if a Hanzo player who was a main on, like, a Hanzo main from Xbox talked to a Hanzo main from PC, and they both were ranked the same rank?
Well, yeah, there's
like,
a lot of
I'd be
stories.
a little annoyed. I'd be a little annoyed getting the same rewards as somebody else, but
there's a lot of stories of console players coming over to PC and, you know, hitting GM, hitting top 500. There's some Rhine players that main Rhine and will play Rhine on controller on PC. But yeah, you know, that's
he's a good one for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great Reinhardt as well. And it's a lot of game sense in that, of course. So like you can learn the game sense. It's interesting because some of the game sense is going to be different because the game meta is going to shift a little bit because of how people play, the psychology around it. But I think that's kind of full on, you know, expect Ximming to be deleted from Blizzard's Overwatch's consoles, Xbox play, Switch play. I don't think there's any really keyboards on Switch, but I've seen it a little bit. And PlayStation. Hopefully this is something they can actually manage, because I know they have a hard time managing botting in World of Warcraft with auto. But I've got hope here. I've got hope with Microsoft and Big Daddy Phil making some moves. So I'm going to let them cook. I think this is overall good news. I think Ximming as a specific should be banned like this. So I'm happy to see it. Nick, any final thoughts on this topic you want to like sort of, I guess, highlight?
Yeah, just get rid of the auto aim. I think that's the crutch that you're on. Like, not you, but like that's what they're on. The crutch of it is like, we need to have auto aim there for our players to feel good. Like it's saying that your game is not meant to be there in the first place. You know, it's the reason why I stopped playing Halo. The new Halo Infinite, like, it's egregious, the auto aim. And I've never experienced the Overwatch auto aim, like, on console, because I haven't played it on console. But it would probably have me stop playing the game.
And I don't think with Overwatch console, I think it's also a slower version of the game. Because of how fast you're able to do inputs. Like if you're a Genji on PC, you're able to 180 really easily with your mouse and keyboard. If you're a Genji on console, it takes you a little bit to 180. And a lot of that tech, like those faster play, you know. So like, I don't think it's just Ximming in that way, but that's a meta change. That's a player psychology change. And, you know, it is what it is. Let's leave it there for now. We do have to wrap up. It's been a bit over time. This has been the Esports Meta. I'm Billy Sims. This is Nicholas Layton. We've had fun talking today. If you enjoyed what we're doing, hit like, subscribe, do the internet things, because we love to see it. And it lets the internet know that you like us too. You like what we're doing. So keeps us going a little bit. We're on all the different things, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So wherever you find your social media, you can find us there. And check us back here at YouTube or Twitch, wherever you're watching us live. We do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a lot more video content over there, etc. Us debating about these topics, us bringing you the news and updates about all the biggest esport competitions happening. Again, I'm Billy Sims. This is Nicholas Layton. This has been the Esports Meta. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time.